Hey everybody, and welcome to Anime for Life. Finally bringing you my 100 subscriber video after many setbacks and a lot of prep time and work put into it compared to my other videos. Um, the video I put out beforehand, basically giving you a heads up about it, I said throw your suggestions in, and the one who got the most votes up would be the video that I did. And the one that got the most I should say vote ups, was one that a friend of mine put in, and it was a matchup between two series, one that was mine and one that was his. And that series was from Fate and Neptunia. And today, that series would be Berserker from Fate and Blanc from Hyperdimension Neptunia. And first off, we're going to do Berserker. And anyone who knows Berserker, his other name is Hercules. And he's from Greece. And as you can see, I've got all his stats. And he's pretty badass. In fact, he's my favorite male servant in the series. And these are his abilities. His first one is what's called a Noble Phantasm, and is actually his most famous from his legend, called 9 Lives. And it's what he used to defeat the Hydra after he found out that just going one head at a time wasn't going to do the trick. And what it does is it hits the target 100 times almost simultaneously. And if that doesn't work, he's also got God Hand, which gives him 11 extra lives. And that comes from when he did the quests for, I believe it was Hera. My sister would know far more about that than I did. She's the mythology whiz. But for each quest he did, he got an extra life. And what this does is it allows him to revive, as well as each death that he does get, it gives him immunity to that death, as well as resistance to the weapon or method that killed him. So you have to kill him 12 different times in order to fully kill him. And as it also states from here, he's also got rapid healing, which basically think of it as Wolverine. You hurt him and heals very, very quickly. He's got the ability Valor, which gives him very, very powerful attacks, very, very high strength, skill in a fight. You can't curse him. You can't make him go to sleep with hypnosis. You can't charm him. As it says here, as I just explained, is adaptive healing. When you deal damage to him, he'll gain resistance to that attack. So every time you attack him, it makes it harder and harder and harder to hurt him. His Eye of the Mind gives him the ability to see through attacks previously witnessed. So not only does hitting him make it harder to hurt him, it also makes it harder to even hit him in the first place. Then he has Battle Continuation. So if you manage to land a very, very damaging attack or lethal attack, you may not even kill him in the first place. He may just keep coming at you. And he's shown that several times against Saber, against Gilgamesh. In fact, he even surprised Gilgamesh the one time because he thought he had killed him by taking his last life off, and he didn't. He just came at him through sheer willpower alone. And onto his strengths. He's got his Madness Enhancement, which makes his already powerful attacks way more dangerous. Almost unkillable due to God Hand. Due to how his lives work, he could theoretically go on and on and on and never actually tire. And because his lives actually regenerate, you may never actually kill him. He's fought hand to hand his entire life, both when he's alive and when he's not. So he's an expert at that. And despite him being like 10, 12 feet tall, he's actually very quick. And he can face multiple opponents with no problem. Due to being a servant, unless you're a magic user, very, very powerful for a normal being, like having overwhelming abilities, such as Void Shiki or Arquaid when they made a crossover into the Fate universe. You're not going to be able to hurt him. Or if you're another servant. Again, if he's killed, he becomes harder and harder to kill until you may not even be able to kill him at all because you run out of methods. And another strength of his God Hand is you could have world-breaking power behind your attack, but because it goes by the letter rank of your attack, if it doesn't reach a certain rank, he's not going to be affected by it. So you could collapse galaxies, but if it doesn't reach A rank level, then he's going to say, what the hell was that? He'll just walk right through it and then beat your ass. But he has a number of weaknesses, and that is he's hand-to-hand only. He doesn't have any ranged attacks whatsoever. Since he's a servant, he requires mana from his master. If he doesn't have that, he's going to disappear from the earth. It doesn't matter what kind of, how many lives he has. His Madness Enhancement, it's a double-edged sword. While it gives him unparalleled strength, probably the most strength of any servant summonable, even Gilgamesh, who's considered the most powerful servant in the Holy Grail War, it makes it so he's got like no thought process. Like he just attacks and that's it. He's just Hulk smash. Again, like the mana, if his master dies, he dies. It doesn't matter how many lives he has left. It's just, that's the end of it. Plain and simple. He's got no sense of self-preservation. He'll just keep going and going and going, even if the situation is hopeless, which it states there as well. You can take multiple lives off too, if you're strong enough. Saber demonstrated this in the one route, where she took off 7 of his lives in one shot with her own noble phantasm Excalibur. So he's not indestructible. If you know how to handle him, you can actually take him out very quickly. Now, everybody knows Hercules has got a lot of feats under his belt. And in the Holy Grail War, he managed to defeat Archer. And not only did that, he also beat Ryder, also known as Medusa, as well as killing her master on top of that. When his own master was in danger from a pack of wolves, he just went in there and dominated every single one of them and didn't even break a sweat over it. When he was fighting Gilgamesh, he basically said nope to death, even though his final life was taken, and he attacked Gilgamesh again, which actually scared him for a second, and he almost grabbed Gilgamesh and crushed his skull, but he disappeared at the last second, unfortunately, so he never got that chance. But that did cause Gilgamesh to actually praise him, which is something he very, very rarely does to anybody. Which it says right there. He called him a troublesome fellow that surpasses his own legend to the very end. He's also part of the Grand Order, and he's my boy too, because I use him. I play the game Fate Grand Order, and I use him all the time. He's saved me so many times. So he's saved the world, and he lives up to his legend. He's got like his multiple lives, very, very hard to kill. He took on Saber, Shiro, and Rin at the same time, and although he was beaten, they very, very narrowly took that win. Like, if they had made one little screw up, he would have beaten them all. And that's pretty much it for Hercules. So now we move on to Blanc. And she's a goddess from Hyperdimension Neptunia. And technically, she's not a person. She's actually a game console, the Nintendo Wii, but the personification of it. And she's from the fictional world of game industry. And she's a female. She's her own master, and she uses weapons similar to Hercules in that she uses axes and hammers. And she's got several abilities. One is Tanzurum's Trombe, which you can see. I've made sure to have all the little demonstrations so you can see how she's doing it. Also, I apologize if I don't pronounce them quite right because I don't speak German well. But I'll try. The other one is Zerstörung, which she basically gets really pissed off and just hits the opponent with all her strength, as you can see. The other one is Getter Ravine, which she just goes all in and just makes a crater and just hits the enemy like straight head on. Gefeile Turn, which is one of her few magic attacks. She's generally like Hercules in the fact that she's very hands-on, very in-your-face. But with this one, she actually makes a few projectiles of ice and sends them into the opponent and does ice magic damage. Then she has Metzelschlag, where she hits for fire damage and creates an explosion. And it's one of her more powerful moves. Then finally, if she's really ticked off at you, which wouldn't be very surprising because she's always mad, she's got Hard Break, which is where she charges the opponent and hits the opponent so hard that they go flying, to when she follows up, creates a fissure, and then jumps into the air and finishes it off with an explosion. And in fact, she even says that this will be their grave when she uses it. But this isn't the only bit in her repertoire. She also has several defensive abilities. And the one is aptly named Defensive Support. And she can use it for herself or her allies. And, just like its name says, it raises her defense, makes it easier for her to take attacks and harder to kill her. Or in the very least, just incapacitate her. But if she's facing somebody who's like a mage or somebody who uses magic attacks, she's got Mental Support, which does the opposite of defense support. And instead of raising her defense, it raises her special defense. So she takes magic defense or magic attacks easier. And at times it can also shrug off attacks like, hypnosis and paralysis, things like that. And finally, she has is Andis Support, which raises both her offensive and defense abilities, but she can only use it for herself or an ally. She can't use it for everybody. But now, not only does she have her normal self, she's also got her goddess form and her next form. In her normal form, despite being very small, she's very, very strong. Her hammer alone is like tens of kilograms, and she can lift this thing with one hand. She's also very smart. She's always reading. She's the leader of a country. She keeps it all under control. Despite her small size, she can actually tank a lot of attacks, and even attacks that would wipe out the other party in one go. But she's very hot-headed. Despite that, though, if she can keep her cool, she actually can be a very good planner. Because she is very mature, actually, because she has to take care of her older sisters, or her younger sisters, sorry. So she's more like a mother figure to her little sisters, and so she has both a sense of maturity because of that, and also because she's a ruler of a country. But again, that's a big if. Um, Her goddess form, she goes by the name Whiteheart. And not much to say here. Pretty much everything is the same except, higher up. And she's better at everything. But now she has flight capabilities on top of that. And after that, she has her next form, which again is the same deal, stronger in everything than even her goddess form. But this time, she also has energy conservation. So if she uses a skill, it's far easier for her to use and she can use it far more often. And she also now has access to what's called Blaster Controller, which is her most powerful of all her skills. And what that does is she basically summons a laser cannon out of this portal, and she uses a special little battery that looks very similar to a Wii controller, go figure. And after freezing them into a block of ice using her little special axe, she then charges the cannon and blasts them with it with such power that it actually blows her own hat away just from the sheer force of the blowback wind it creates. The downside to that is that it actually forces her out of her goddess form after that, just because of the sheer amount of power it takes. Now, onto her strengths. She uses what's called share energy, which is very similar to mana for Hercules. And she gets that from the people. Basically, think of it as, the faith of anyone from any form of religion, whether it's Christianity, Islam, whatever. It's the same deal. And the more faith she has, the stronger she gets. And it doesn't matter what form she's in. She's very, very strong if she has these shares. And as it describes here, one of the other goddesses, Neptune, with the shares she had, she was able to one-shot this dragon with just a single kick to the face. And that was when she was in her human form. And she also took several attacks from Yellowheart when she was in her goddess form. And this was also in her human form. And she just, took it and then stopped her with a single grab of her arm. Blanc can do that far easier than either of them can. On top of that, with Blanc, she's strong no matter what form she takes, as long as she has the shares. She can take attacks far better than any of the goddesses can. She's got flight in her goddess form. She's got offensive and defensive options for both herself and her allies. Depending on what the situation calls for, she can switch on her forms, or she can just say, you know what, I'm just going to go all out and go right to my next form. But probably the best thing is she's got millennia worth of battle experience due to fighting the goddesses for, well, God knows how many millennia. Even in the first game, it never really states how long she's been fighting them. It just says she's fought them for millennia. So chances are you're not going to beat her when it comes to fighting experience. But she's also got a number of weaknesses, just like anyone. First off, she's hot-headed, like very hot-headed, almost to the point you look at her and she's going to get mad. And as Neptune describes her, she's perma-pissed when she's Whiteheart or Next White. Though she is a little calmer actually in Next White, but not by very damn much. And that makes it very, very easy to get her to do something that's not very smart. The other goddesses would be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, why would you fall for that? Even Neptune, who's kind of an idiot at times. Despite her being very physically strong, she doesn't have a lot of magical attacks that are very strong, aside from her Gefallecturn. while she does have several magic attacks, most of them are physical based and they're not much more powerful than a normal attack would be. They just kind of add a little more oomph to it. So if you're going against somebody who has a high magic resistance, they may harm them a bit more than a physical attack would, but not by much. Not only that, is even if she has high shares, her goddess form and next form do take quite a bit of energy on her, and so she can't just willy-nilly use it. So she likes to use it only if she absolutely has to use it. She doesn't just like to use it right off the bat. And that brings us to her most glaring weakness, her shares. Her shares are her greatest strength and also her greatest weakness, just like Hercules' madness enhancement. If she has a lot of shares, she can do pretty much anything. She could wipe continents, countries out of existence with a finger snap. But at the same time, if she doesn't have any shares, that can literally kill her right then and there. Or in the very least, she won't be any more powerful than a normal human being would. Which isn't good when you're facing, enemies that can do the exact same thing. And they don't need shares. So, she's not unbeatable by any means, and especially when you're easy to provoke. But she's got a lot of feats to her name, and that would be she's saved the hyperdimension, the ultra dimension, the super dimension, and many other places as well. And this is because the hyperdimension isn't exactly just one world, it's its own little world, and it's time shenanigans. They found a way to just jump from one world to the other. She was a singer for a while, and she highly regretted her stage name really fucking fast. She came up with it actually herself, but yeah, that didn't work out for her, and she didn't like it after a while because even the goddesses made fun of her. She participated in a goddess battle royale and did well. She was a movie director, and then stuff happened, and a zombie outbreak happened, and she utterly destroyed it. She also took part in Neptune's favorite game, Four Goddesses Online. That's not a reference to anything. And she got trapped due to a virus basically screwing with the game. And she managed to fight her way out and destroy the virus on top of that, along with the others. So technically, she had help with that one. And not only that, she also fought alongside the Azure Lane. If you don't know what that is, it's basically ship waifus. Fun game too. I got that one as well. But with that all said, with the two combatants set up, So I would really like to hear your opinions on what you would think would happen. If you think Blanc would win, or if you think my boy Hercules would win. I'm happy either way because I'm kind of sad of seeing Herc lose every single damn fight, even though they make him out to sound so strong. And if you like this video, there's another fight I would like to do as well. And I've actually thought about doing this for a while because there's a lot of fights I would like to see in Death Battle, but they're never going to get done ever, sadly. So leave your comments, like, subscribe if you like it, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed my 100 subscriber video. And I've actually got another video I'm going to put out. That one's going to be more of a politically based one, but it has to do with matters at hand that have been going around recently. But that's for something else. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that and keep enjoying anime and anime for life.